Step into the world of the Superpro podcast, where we lay out the blueprints of home service excellence. Join us as we break down the wins and struggles of pros who are at the top of their game. Put their wisdom into practice as you build your company's success.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Superpro podcast, the heartbeat of home service excellence. I am Roland, your host and co-founder of Housecall Pro. I'm an advocate for all the hardworking pros out there that are helping make our homes better, safer, more comfortable. Through Housecall Pro, I've had the opportunity to serve hundreds of thousands and help hundreds of thousands of pros by helping them empower to achieve more, stress less, redefine success in an industry. Today, I'm super excited. Longtime super pro, definitely a friend of mine, Chris Plunkett. He's one of the owners he is the owner of Tailored Mechanical, and they're based and they serve the Tucson, Arizona area. They've got 5 employees with 3 to 5 trucks on the road, looking to hit that $2 million mark this year. And he's been with Housecall Pro for quite a few years. So we're going to focus on some of the things that he has taught his technicians, that he also teaches his students. He's a coach, he's a mentor at Conquer. So he's got a world of knowledge. I'm super excited to have Chris on the show. So let's welcome Chris.
Hey, Roland, it's actually a pleasure to be here. Really excited to be able to, chat with you and share anything I can that might help anybody else out there who's, trying to build their business up.
Yeah, I think, you've done a great job. You've been in business for just over a decade now. But as you've been building it out, I know you've learned just a ton of stuff on the way. Just before the show, actually, I love this. You were telling me you went on vacation for a month in Scotland and you barely fielded any calls. But I feel like that's a big struggle for a lot of pros that are listening to the show that don't have either the time or feel like they don't have the time to be able to take time off. Or if they do, they take time off and they're just on the phone constantly and they're not able to just like relax and get that R&R. So tell me, first of all, your vacation story a little bit, but I'd love to know how you did it.
Yeah. So, we went to Scotland. It was, it's probably, I think it's our 3rd time traveling over there. The first time was a week. Second time was 2 weeks. We decided to go for just about a month. It was a few days shy. But, I happen to be a fan of whiskey. And they happened to make some really good whiskey there. So we went to some distilleries, went to some festivals, things like that. But it's also a very relaxing place. It's a much slower pace of life out there on the Scottish Highlands. And, it's nice to be able to slow down and enjoy things. And, when you run a business, even when you're on vacation, a lot of times you end up being on the phone, on the computer, taking care of things. Granted, there are some things that we did have to take care of. My wife is part of our business. And so she runs payroll. But basically that was about all she did, was run payroll 2 or 3 times while we were there. We put together a great team and we trained them up on how the business is supposed to be run. We incorporated a long time ago core values into our business, and those core values, we have 5, and they're customer service, innovation, training, quality, and accountability. And based on those 5 core values, you can answer any question anybody has, and how are we going to take care of this situation? Let's go to our core values. What is the solution that aligns with those values? And let's go ahead then and do that as a solution.
Well, how do you, so a lot of people talk about core values, and I feel like sometimes it gets flown around as a little fluffy, and people are like, yeah, these are my core values, but how do you train this on your employees? How do you live it? How does that work?
So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull this up on my phone, because I have, basically, to answer that question, how do you train that? We train Mondays and Fridays. Our entire team gets together at the office, and we spend anywhere from 30 to 45 to 60 minutes doing training. Today's Fridays are hands-on training. So this morning we did a hands-on training. We taught one of our newer guys who's moving from one part of the business to another part of the business. We taught him how to braze. And we all got together. We talked about safety behind that. We talked about technique. We talked about different things that are involved in how to braze copper. And then we went in, we got hands-on, and we actually brazed copper, and we taught them how to do that. And so we train every single week for, like I said, 30 to 60 minutes. But Mondays are anything that's not hands-on. So anything customer forward or customer facing, we teach people, those, I guess you could call them the soft skills that go along with with customer interactions. So customer service is a big focus. That's our first core value. That's what our business was built on. And so teaching people how to serve the customer by following those core values. We'll pick one core value every month and we'll deep dive into that. And so let me pull this up here. Let's see.
I love how you break it down, by the way. Like you have certain days dedicated to something. I think, consistency is so key to setting anything in motion within any company. And if you break it, it's really hard. You kind of lose that momentum. But being at hands-on Friday and customer focus on Monday, and they just become accustomed to that, I think that's really key. And also building that structure, helps the company move forward while you're out, because they know, okay, Monday we're gonna do this, Friday we're gonna do this. And so they start building up that routine.
Exactly. And so while I was in Scotland, one of my technicians led the meetings on Mondays and Fridays to be able to keep that going, that momentum, like you mentioned. So I'll give you an example. One of our core values is accountability. It's taking responsibility for everything we do and standing behind our work 100%. So we talk about what that could mean in our business. How do we hold ourselves accountable? How do we hold the business accountable? And we train on that, and we talk about that, and we get really deep into that. And so it's not just we did this once when you were onboarded, and now we move from that into, remember, 8, 12, 24 months ago when we talked about our core values? Well, you didn't really follow those, and so now we have a problem. Now I want to make sure we stay on top of that, and the guys make decisions in the field. We empower our employees to make decisions from the field for situations that come up, and that's how I'm able to field far less phone calls. And now when they call me, it's not, hey, this situation occurred, what do I do? It's, hey, this situation occurred, this is what I think the solution is based on our values of this or that, right? And the decision should always be made in a way that it follows at least 2, if not 3 of our core values. If it flies in the face of any of our core values, we don't do that. But we want to make sure that it aligns with at least 2, if not more, of our core values when we make a decision.
I think that's super important too, is where, if there are situations that arise and you're having weekly meetings and you're having team huddles, whatever you want to call it, that, others get a chance to learn from what other folks in the company are doing. And then that way you can kind of say, hey, here's what happened. Here's what we thought. Here's a process we did. And then we kind of share why we did that. And so having that as a part of that routine too is super important, so that you can learn a lot faster when you're not only learning from what you're doing, but from what everybody else is doing too.
That's exactly right. And so we'll talk about sometimes when we're going over a particular core value, hey, so-and-so made this decision in the field, and we feel this was the right decision based on the core values, and we'll get into that. I always encourage my people to make those decisions, like actually make decisions, because, we all started out somewhere, and I like I don't remember where I heard this or read this, but it's, good decisions come from good judgment. Good judgment comes from having made bad decisions. Learn from them, right? And bad decisions are made from bad judgment. So we're all going to start out originally with some bad judgment, but we're going to learn as time progresses. If somebody makes a mistake, maybe it's not a giant mistake. Somebody makes a small mistake. If you bawl that person out, you scream at them, yell at them, they're not going to learn anything from that. All they're going to learn is that if I mess up, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to hide it.
Yeah.
I always tell my team, if there's ever something goes wrong, I want to know about it immediately, because I'm going to help you fix that problem. Right.
Yeah.
If something bad happens, I mean, not just something minor, but
something that needs some fixing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, people are like, well, Roland, how do you like encourage that openness? How do you get people comfortable with like sharing the failure or sharing with their stuff? Because sometimes they might be new and they're embarrassed that they made a big screw up or they like sunk an extra hole through the wall or who knows what.
Yeah. So I know, yeah, exactly. One of our core values is accountability. And what we talk about when I talk about accountability as kind of a two-sided coin. So one side is the accountability where I made a mistake and I need to get it fixed. The other side is recognition. You did something right, and I want to hold you accountable for doing something right. So we're going to recognize you for doing that. And I look at that coin as the accountability side where we have to have a conversation about how you made this mistake. That's private. That's just you and me. Recognition is public. I want everybody to know how you did this thing right and you did good and you did well. So we have a group chat. And whenever there's a 5-star review that comes through, that gets a screenshot sent out to the group. Hey, great job, so-and-so on this 5-star review. Maybe I'll make a mention of something that they did from the customer's actual verbiage that they put in there. And we share that with the team. Great job. And everybody, chimes in. And, hey, good job, so-and-so for taking care of that or getting that done or getting that review, handling that situation, whatever it is. But if somebody gets a 1-star review, that's not going out to the group. I'm not calling them up. Hey, look, everybody, so-and-so got a 1-star review. Let's all bash them. I don't want that. So that's how we kind of encourage that openness is that, hey, yeah, you made a mistake. We may end up talking about this with the group in the future anonymously, like, hey, a situation occurred. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but I want everybody to be able to learn from both the good things and the bad things so that it doesn't happen again. My mom told me, you don't have to make the same mistake that somebody else did to learn from it.
Yeah, I think celebrate in public, correct in private,
Exactly.
or there's a lot of different ways to put acknowledge achievements openly and address issues discreetly. And I think, that's definitely a good way to kind of build that. And I feel like another big tip I have for folks too is be open about your own mistakes then be willing to fail publicly in front of all your employees. Because there's nothing easier. There's no easier way to start a conversation and be like, remember when I did this? Look, this is what I did here. Now tell me about how happened to you. Now all of a sudden you kind of like, you have more of that common ground rather than, well, Chris Plunkett, he never makes mistakes. He's the boss. He does everything perfect. It's like, no, it's okay. We all make faults, and that's a really easy way to start a conversation, especially with employees that might be a little gun shy, or you're starting to implement this kind of like radical candor. Like in your company, like now, right? Try to implement this a little later.
Yeah, I share a couple of stories with my guys every now and then about some blunders I've made in the field. Nearly ruined a guy's, heat pump system. One of my guys got a service call on a unit that I had been at maybe the week before and discovered that I wired a motor incorrectly and it was running backwards and caused some issues. He likes to share that story occasionally.
Yeah, I feel like those are good stories to talk about. I know you do like employee appreciation events and all kinds of fun stuff. Talk to me a little bit about kind of the culture building and the camaraderie, because I know you do a lot of that kind of in your company, and I think it's super valuable for others to kind of hear those golden nuggets.
Yeah, so actually the first official day of summer is next Thursday. So very shortly after that, we're going to do a welcome to summer event where we're going to get the whole team together. We're not going to do any work that day. We're going to go to like Top Golf.
So it's paid. They're getting paid to be there.
Yeah, it's basically a paid day off that we get we're going to get together. I'm going to buy some food. We're going to have a good time. We're going to go do something like maybe not Top Golf, but something like that. We've done that in the past. We've done escape rooms. We went to, I think it's called Main Event. I don't know if that's a national thing or a local thing. We've done some, they've like bowling and laser tag and things like that. Just get together and enjoy our time with each other rather than, getting together and being hot and sweaty and gross and working. So we invite the families along as well. So it's not just the employee. We invite spouses, children, anybody who wants to come in and join us. We have in the past had a couple of younger guys that weren't married, one guy brought his older brother along, and he came and hung out with us, and had a good time. So we like to make sure that we're including the family so that they can see, the group that these people work with is fun. And, we actually get referrals from family members like, hey, my cousin or so-and-so needs help, and it happens more frequently that way. Not that we do that for that, but that's kind of a happy side.
Sure. Yeah, there's externalities and just having a good culture, which is just attracting more talent organically. The people want to work, at Tailored Mechanical. And I feel like, you foster that environment. And I think a lot of people, they'll either try to host like a company event, but then it's like non-paid or it's on the weekend. Don't do that. Find a time during the week, set it off, block it off completely, and allow everyone to enjoy. That's like a big tip. I see too many people are like, oh yeah, we're going to do like a weekend thing. No, don't do a weekend thing. Like
the only reason we ever do like a weekend thing is so that family can join if they're working or something like that.
Okay.
So maybe it'll be like an after hours on a Friday, and we let them know plenty of time ahead so that they don't have other plans.
Yep. And I think just making it a paid day. It's not a free day. It's paid. That's super critical to do. And I've seen some people make a couple of mistakes there, but that's like, just do that. That's the right thing to do. And
it's mandatory for you to be here. I don't want to be there then.
Yeah. Like, why would you do that? Right. Why would you do that? No, totally. I love it. Well, going back, you've been in business for just over a decade now. Like, what's something you would tell young Chris Plunkett, green-eyed, starry-eyed, 10 years ago? What's something that, you'd be like, you know what, man, you got to do this right out of the gate?
Invest in your people.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I'm not some great leader, but I definitely was not a leader when I started my business. And in fact, I tell the story to my mentees and even to my people that there's an individual that I was really good friends with when I started my business, and we're not as good of friends as we used to be. And it's because he worked for me and I was a terrible boss. I actually said to him that you are here to make my life easier. And
looking back at it, you're like, oh man.
Looking back, I can't believe that I ever said those words. But at the time that I said it, I believed it. Yeah. And I can't believe like how stupid and wrong that was. And he quit, obviously.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
I was at the time. I was like, what do you mean you quit? You don't even have another job lined up. What are you going to do? You got a mortgage to pay. And he's like, I don't care, dude. I can't work for you anymore. And I was like, man, that's ridiculous. I can't believe it. But no, I mean, invest in your people in terms of, we sit down with our team on a monthly basis and we ask 3 questions. What should I know, or what should your supervisor know about the last 30 days? What do you plan to work on for the next 30 days? How can I help? And we make sure that they know it's not just about work. Like, I'm not asking you about business or work or the job. I'm asking you about life. I sat down with one individual and they told me that they wanted to buy a car. He's like, I really want to buy a car. And I was like, okay, let's make a plan. So we sat down, we made a plan. And within 6 months, he had what he defined as his dream car.
Wow.
Another guy, within our first sit down, he told me he wanted to buy a house. And within, I stopped him right there. I said, look, here's the steps that you got to follow to buy a house. Let's start step 1. And he got pre-qualified. He started working with a realtor that we partner with in our business. And it took him a couple months to find the right house. But once he did, I think it was 4 months, and he was into a house.
Wow. Yeah.
And
I think,
good.
Yeah, the golden nugget you're leaving there is like, a lot of people think that when you're doing one-on-ones or meetings, it's only talking about business, but often, in fact, it's the complete opposite. It's more about just their life in general, life goals, life, achievements, milestones that they might have had or experienced or hoping to experience. And that's something that, on a monthly basis definitely helps build not just, trust and loyalty, but just showing them that you care. When you said put employees first, like that's invest in your employees, like that is a definition of investing, because you're putting your time aside that you could have put towards the business, but you're putting it towards them personally.
Yeah. Anything that you invest in your people is always going to come back to you tenfold, if not more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Training is one of our core values. We travel around the country sometimes as a team, usually during slower seasons. And we've been to Florida a few times, Chicago, Texas a few times. We've been all over the place. We go for very specific HVAC training at different locations, and we used to have the rule that you had to have been with us for 1 year in order to travel with us. And I realized that I had a really good guy that couldn't go on our trip with us because he hadn't been with us for a year.
Oh, so what did you do? Did you break the rule for him, or how'd you?
I abolished the rule.
Yeah, you're like, no more 1 year.
Stupid. We're not doing this anymore. I don't care if you've been with us for 5 minutes. If you are a good person, I know you're going to be you're coming with us. And so he did, and he was really excited about that, and he's moving from, we do water treatment as well as HVAC. So he's moving from the water treatment side of the business over to the HVAC this year. That's the fellow we did some brazing training this morning. And so he was stoked to be able to go with us to Chicago. And we spent, I think, 4 days there at the AHR Expo. And, it's all basically paid work vacation for 4 days. Plus, we cover the travel and food and things like that.
Yeah. And a lot of folks, that are maybe a little younger on in their business building career, all of this is tax write-off. So all this comes against, your profit. You could write that down. So remember, like any kind of training, investing, even company events, all of that, all write off. So make sure you get a good accountant and you're capturing all the receipts. But,
well, for sure.
But yeah, all that is write off for sure.
Who's the is it Richard Branson, Virgin Mobile, Virgin Air, whatever, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He was in a board meeting one time, and somebody on the board was like, "Hey, look at all this money we're spending on training. Like, we can't keep doing this. What if we train all these people and they leave?" His response was, "Well, what if we don't train them and they stay?"
Yeah, so, I think his saying is like, treat people well enough so they can leave, and treat them well enough so that they don't want to.
Train them well enough to be able to go somewhere else. Treat them well enough that they don't want to.
That's right.
And I wholeheartedly believe that. I have several people that have worked for me in the past that are now running their own business, doing HVAC. And I was, sad to see them go, but I'm so happy that I could be part of their journey and train them on how to, not only do the HVAC work, but also how to run a business.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool that I've been able to be a part of at least two people that I can think of off the top of my head who are now running their own AC companies.
Yeah. And, oftentimes the people that have the capacity to start their own business are oftentimes the best employees to have, because their ownership and accountability mindset is so far beyond the ones that don't. And so the difficulty is knowing that someday they'll leave, but while you're in that training phase and being able to like cultivate and have them on your team, you get just like this massive productivity, this massive ownership. And, those are really, truly the type of people that you want working for you, because they could do it themselves, but they're choosing to still stay at your company.
Yeah. And that's that, like you said, that Richard Branson part is just treat them good enough that they don't want to go anywhere else. And I've got a guy on my team that probably could start his own business tomorrow, doing air conditioning. And he's been approached by a number of other companies. I don't really sound like I'm got a chip on my shoulder. I don't call them competitors. They're just other contractors, because we don't have a lot of competitors in my market. I have some.
I like that mindset. It's good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have some companies out there that I definitely consider competition, but we don't really compete because we're friends. We're of a similar mindset. But anyhow, he's been approached by a number of other companies and offered way more money, surprisingly, because I think he's paid pretty well. And he's like, "Nah, you can't you can't pay me enough to work for you. Like it's not about the money. And that's, to me, that tells me that we're doing something right with our culture.
Yep. So transitioning a little bit, you started using Housecall Pro. I mean, you've been using it for, I don't know, 7-8 years now, a long time. So you've really seen the product evolve, over the years. What's something about Housecall Pro that you're using now that you're like, man, if I would have just started the business using this thing out of the gate, I would have just like grown so much faster.
Okay. So initially when I started my business decade plus ago, it was just me. And then I moved into having some helpers, and those helpers, and I was wrong about this, those helpers, I just paid them like as a 1099 thinking they were subcontractors. And I learned and found out that that's not legit. You do that. And so I started paying them an hourly wage and tracking their hours. And it was such a nightmare. And I started looking for something out there that would help me to be able to track my employees' hours so they can clock in and clock out. The thing that I found was this app that let your employees clock in and clock out, but you could also build their schedule and they would know where to go because they had this app on their phones, Housecall Pro. So I ended up reaching out. I got a phone call from a guy that had he did a demo with me, and his demo was set up. He was Magic Mark. And
Mark Hennessy probably.
So he showed me, he's like, yeah, you can clock in and clock out. And he showed me all these other things. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. They can clock in and clock out, right? And I used the app primarily for clock in, clock out for the first year. And I had another thing that I was doing for like invoicing and stuff. And then I kind of was like, this is dumb. I'm paying for two things. This does that. So I started really getting deep into Housecall Pro. Might have been a couple months, actually, not a year. And I started getting deep into that. And then a few years in, I was like, I really need to start, I call it building a hedge around my customers. And so I started incorporating service agreements. And I wish that I, day one, would have started building service agreements. That there, there's a passive income that comes with that. And that's awesome. A couple $1,000s a month in passive income. But so much more than that. You've now built a way for your technicians to be busy, depending on how your service agreements are built out. In the spring and fall, we make 4 visits. So we're spring, fall, summer, winter.
Yep.
And so our team is busy 4 times a year. We have a busy season that comes up, even if we're not busy. And so
that's great. And so that's built into the service agreement. When you buy from Taylor Mechanical, you can get this service agreement where 4 times a year you're going to come out and make sure the unit's running okay, everything like that.
And we build a lot of value into that as well, right? So we're providing a filter in each of those service intervals. We're doing a lot of things that we take care of that customer. But it provides that technician with guaranteed work. And if there's recommendations maybe that we have for a customer based on some deficiencies that we find when we're out there, there's more than just your hour or so that you're going to spend with that customer. So you've got repairs on top of that you're going to get paid to take care of. There's a certain percentage of those equipment that you go through where you're going to find, hey, you know what? The best recommendation here is actually a replacement. And that's not our goal, is to go out there and try to replace as many systems as we can. But occasionally it comes up where that's the right thing to do is recommend replacement. So now you got the opportunity for a sale. And so there's a big revenue generator behind the, several, maybe $1,000, depending on how many service agreements you have and what you're charging. So there's a lot more value in a service plan or a service agreement than just the $10 to $12 to $20 or whatever you're charging a month for that plan. And if I had been doing that earlier on, I think I could have captured a lot more revenue a lot quicker and grown the business faster, because growth takes money, right? So that's probably the number one thing, that if I had used service agreements earlier on in the business, I would be at a higher revenue level. I would be a larger company than I am today.
Are you charging the customer like an annual, split up monthly? Are they billing on their credit card automatically? Like how does that work in your plan? that you built
The
out?
nice thing is with Housecall Pro, you have the option for a bunch of different things there. So you can do the monthly, you can do quarterly. I don't know if you can do every 6 months, but you can at least do yearly. And so some of our customers pay us with a check every time we go out. And so we set it up as a one year agreement. It expires in a year, and then they pay us with a check and we do it again. Some of them set it up so that we're charging them on a monthly basis, and we go out every quarter for that visit. Some people, commercial accounts, they pay us on a quarterly basis. So it really depends on what the customer's wants and needs are. I don't want to alienate myself from a customer because they want to pay me with a check once a year. And I honestly prefer if we just set it up and it charges them monthly, because that's less admin work. But you know what? It's worth that additional revenue if I can capture it and just have them pay me with a check.
Totally. I think that's one of the things that I feel a lot of younger, smaller businesses fall into. They're like, I only want check, or I only want credit card, or I only want it my way. And it's like, whoa. You got to switch that.
Yep.
What does the customer want? Just do whatever they want. Have all the things. If they want to finance. If they want a credit card. If they want a check. Whatever it is, just have all the avenues open, because you never know what someone's either going through. If it's an unexpected repair, which most repairs are, you're not like, I didn't budget for my HVAC system.
Well, what is it? 80% of people in the United States can't write a check for $1,000.
Yeah. So why?
And I've got a $5,000 repair. You're going to tell me kick rocks.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's great that you've got that also just built that flexibility in the service agreements. But I think the compounding nature of it and the recurring nature of that is what makes it so valuable. And I think that's why, Chris is here saying like, man, I wish I would start that from day one, because all those clients could have been your clients from the moment you started the service agreement plan. You can always go back to them and say like, hey, I know you serviced your unit 5 years ago. Just so you know, I wanted to come in and check in. And by the way, we have a membership thing. Your unit's getting a little old. Why don't we get you on our membership plan so I can keep it up? So there's ways to capture some of that, but you're just going to capture a percentage. Versus you're out there, you install it, you make it as a part of the value that you deliver as a company, that you stand behind the things that you do, right? Then I think you're going to have a lot easier time selling those memberships, agreements, whatever you end up calling them, comfort clubs, et cetera.
Yeah. And here's a I guess we'll call it a quick tip. Service agreements, you can decide to or not to offer a discount to clients who are members of your agreement. But if you decide to, and we do, don't use that discount as the selling platform. Don't be like, hey, we can do these repairs and we'll save you 15% or 10% if you sign up for this agreement. Because what are they going to do? They're going to look at that and they're going to think, okay, here's my discount code. And as soon as that's done, I'm just going to cancel.
Yep.
People who sell their service agreement as like a discount, they are the people that sign up for that are like, I forget the exact number, and you might have the figure, but it's something like 60 to 70% more likely to cancel in the first year.
Yeah, because they're just like, okay, I pay for 1 year, $200, and I save, 10% on 15 grand. So I'm saving $1,500. Of course I'm going to do this. Remember, and then come 1 year renewal, they're like, nope, I'm out. Versus, hey, we're installing the system. We've got this membership, this club comfort, whatever you want to call it. And it just means that for the life of this unit, you never have to worry about it again. P.S. You're in Tucson, so if you step outside, you're probably going to die. So, it's so freaking hot. We got to this is something you got to invest in. You got to make sure it works 24/7, year round.
It's 10:40 in the morning right now. It's 95 degrees. We have an excessive heat warning. It's going to be over 102 it says, but I bet it'll get hotter.
Whew. Yeah. So I think, I mean, that must help with the HVAC business too, right? You literally can't be without it. It's super important. You're a super active member in the Housecall Pro community. A lot of people know you, know your face, know you as a Conquer coach too. They might have even seen some of your videos. Why are you so active in giving back to the community, and why, how do you have the time to do all that? Why do you do that?
All right, so I have the time because I have an amazing team behind me. That's step one. Like we mentioned earlier, I put a lot of time into training a team so that I can spend somewhere between 5 and 10 hours a week working on the business. And that's about it. The reason that I answer the questions and help the people that are starting out or maybe have been around for a while and haven't figured out a specific thing is because I had help. I am not some genius business guy who knows all these things. I had coaches. I've had mentors. I've had friends who have all helped me get to where I'm at. I stand on the shoulders or the backs of giants in this industry. And if I can, share anything that I've learned with anybody that's helped me over anything I've learned from people who've helped me, if I can share that with anybody out there and it helps them to, build their business up a little bit, I firmly believe that a rising tide raises all ships. Mm-hmm. And if if your company is better off because of something that I shared with you, let me just put it like this. If I teach you that you're actually not making a profit with your business and you're in the same town as me and you raise your price a little bit so that you can actually make a profit, I'm not having to fight lowball Joe on jobs, right, when we're going out to estimates, because now lowball Joe understands that, man, I wasn't making
a business. Yeah.
I'm going to go out of business in 6 months if I keep doing this, right? Mm-hmm. I think that I don't know if you ever watched The Office, but I think that episodes where Michael starts the Michael Scott Paper Company and he goes to an accountant and the accountant's like, if you keep up with these prices, you're going to be out of business in 6 weeks.
I remember he had that small little 10 by 10 cubicle where Pam was in there and like 2 others.
Pam and Ryan, and they ended
up taking a lot of accounts, but then he knew the business was going to go out of business and he tried to sell it back to Dunner Mill.
They did. And that was great. But yeah, I mean, nobody's going to buy your crappy little business because look how busy I am. I'm busy all the time. And it's like, yeah, but you aren't making any money. So, let's charge what we're worth. And then we can do things like go on the Superpro podcast with Roland Leitenberg. Because we have the time.
Yeah, because you have the time. That is true. No, I think, as we think about Housecall Pro, as we think about our community, the reason why it's so special is because of folks like Chris and many others that are all part of the Superpro program, part of sometimes even Conquer coaching. That's a really high standard and a bar to be able to become a Conquer coach, and it takes months to even get there. But I feel like just giving back, there truly is, this rising tides lifts all boats mentality, because for us as Housecall Pro, our mission is to champion all of our pros to success. So one of the reasons why we do this podcast, also one of the reasons we spend a lot of time in the community engaging, because the reality is like, we don't use the software every single day. We need the feedback from our pros to get better. And then if we can give them some feedback on how to help them run their business a little better, because we've got a lot of insights from thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other businesses, we can do that too. And I think, a lot of folks get stuck in sometimes a mentality that's like, I'm not going to help the other guy in my town. Like they're my competitor. And you put it really nicely. It's like, no, they're not competition. There's other contractors, they happen to be in my area. And I feel like a lot of folks don't realize how much leverage you can get out of speaking well about your competitors, rather than trying to slam them for things they don't have or don't do. Because everything comes around. And there may be a day when you need their help, or they've got overflow and they can't do a job, and if you can facilitate that networking correctly, you can really stand out above the crowd. You mentioned something earlier in the podcast too about being kind of partnered with a realtor, but that's a great, people might not have even caught that, but that's a great example of like, there's other people within other industries within your community that you also want to be close with, and so just networking in general, being good, being kind, helping others always helps. And I'm just lucky we have you in our community.
I'm happy to be a part of it. We have a guy who's another HVAC contractor here in town who actually uses Housecall Pro now, because I've shared it with him and he really loves it. But when he goes out of town, he calls me and says, hey, can you handle something if blah, blah, blah comes up? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. We got you. And when I was in Scotland, it was, hey, if they can't get a hold of me and they need a specific, business thing answered or something maybe more technical, can they reach out to you? It's like, yeah, absolutely. No problem. So we're there for each other in that way as well.
See, that's awesome. And I think like a lot of people don't even think that way. And you have to have a real big growth mindset to be able to like not see them as like, oh no, can't share anything, or customers or this or that.
They're going to steal my customer. And
yeah.
this guy's so busy over here. He doesn't want your customer.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Well, we're nearing the end here. I think we could easily like talk for an hour, but do you have any parting words of wisdoms for any pros that are happening to listen and have made it to kind of minute 40 here?
Yeah, if you've listened to this far, and then we'll pause right here while I think of something clever to say. No, honestly, if you've listened to this far, just remember that, there's that old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. Edison didn't build the light bulb his first time through. Your business is going to go through ups and downs. You may feel like you're on a roller coaster, and working with a coach can help with that. Working with somebody who has experience doing exactly what you're going through, right, will definitely help you with that. But don't get stuck in a slump. There's that old saying, if you're going through a bad time, keep going. You want to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a failure if you fail. You're a failure if you fail and you stop trying. Just keep trying, keep doing. I love, it sounds silly, but I love that from Finding Nemo. Just
keep going. Yeah.
Just keep swimming, because you're going to go through some rough times and some rough patches, but you just got to keep on going, because otherwise you're going to end up quitting. And you're not a failure until you quit. You just figured out, what did Edison say? I figured out 1,000 something ways to not build a light bulb, but all it took one way to build the light bulb. And it's the same way with your business. So just keep on trying. Don't give up.
That's awesome. I don't think I could have said it better myself. There is no failure. There's only failure if you don't end up learning. And the only way you learn is to keep on trying. And that whole mindset is just super important. And I love the Finding Nemo because, good old Dory just found a way to make it all happen. Even though she didn't really know what she was doing. She still made it happen, right? She kept on trying. She kept on swimming. Well, we could have talked for a long time. Chris, thank you so much for coming on this episode. And we will see you all next week with another Superpro from the Housecall Pro community. Thanks again, Chris. And I'm sure I'll talk to you later.
All right.
The Superpro podcast is brought to you by Housecall Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. Housecall Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with Housecall Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.